Hello and good day. This is the Bible Bard. A bard is a storyteller who recites traditional texts associated with a particular oral tradition, and I'm here to recite and to amplify what the literature of the Bible says about who is God and who are human beings. Here's the place we are at today. An important part of almost any religion is prayer, what it is and how it is done. There are several ways to approach this topic in the Bible. We could see how prayer was conducted during the time of the Hebrew Scriptures. We could see how Jesus prayed, or we could review the New Testament instructions to the churches on prayer. But let's see what some of our sample texts teach us about Jesus and prayer. Someone might ask, if Jesus was God, did he just pray to himself? In Lesson 23, we discover that the Bible teaches us that Jesus was fully human. He was subordinate to God. He had to depend on God the Father for what he said, what he did, and the choices he made. In this way, Jesus was no different in his humanity from us. Note, see Lesson 24 for what the Bible teaches about the divinity of Jesus Christ. We do not argue about this. The Bible teaches both things. Jesus is fully human, and Jesus Christ is fully God. In the text, Matthew 14, verses 23, which describes an instance of Jesus praying, the text reads, quote, "He went up on a mountain by himself to pray," unquote. Comment. A number of texts repeat the practice of Jesus in a number of different situations, from which we conclude that praying separate and apart from others was a common practice of Jesus. Jesus withdrew to pray before conflicts and after successes. In accord with his own practice, he instructs his disciples, saying, quote, "But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you," unquote. In Luke chapter 9, verse 28, the text states, quote, "After Jesus said this, he took Peter, John, and James with him and went up unto a mountain to pray." Comment. Jesus also prayed separately from others with just a chosen few. Then in Matthew chapter 14, verse 19, the text reads, quote, "Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves." Comment. We can't really say that Jesus prayed with the multitude of people who followed him, but we can say that he prayed in front of the multitude, in full view of the multitude. When Jesus prayed, he prayed earnestly. Luke 22, verse 44 states, quote, "And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly with the following purposes." Quote, he prayed for God's glory. In John 17:1, the verse reads, quote, "Father, the time has come. Glorify your Son, that your Son may glorify you," unquote. Number 2, he prayed with the purpose for himself. In Hebrews chapter 5, verse 7, the text states, "During the days of Jesus' life on earth, he offered up prayers and petitions with loud cries and tears to the one who could save him from death," unquote. Jesus prayed for others. In John 17, verses 9 and 20, the verse reads, quote, "I have revealed you to those whom you gave me. I pray for them." So, comment, Jesus tells the Father that he prays for those who God has given him. Then Jesus prays for specific individuals. In Luke 22, 31 and 32, the text states, quote, "Simon, Simon, I have prayed for you," unquote. Jesus prayed for enemies. In Luke 23:34, the text states, quote, "There they crucified him, and Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And then finally, Jesus prayed to overcome temptation. In Matthew 26, verses 40 to 42, the text reads, quote, he asked Peter, "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak, unquote. Jesus was a man of prayer. He prayed kneeling, see Luke 22, verse 41, on his face, Matthew 26, verse 39, eyes open, Matthew 14, verse 19, and the busier he became, the more he prayed, Mark 3:20, 6:31, 33, and 46. He did not pray, quote, babbling like the pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words, unquote. While he prayed more than once for the same thing, he did not recite the same words of a prayer vainly over and over and over. He also did not use mechanical means to substitute for his own words. He didn't write prayers down and float them on the water, float them in the air, or let them blow in the wind to pray in his stead. Our interest is in how Jesus prayed. The word Christian means Christ follower. The prayers of Jesus were rational communications to God, requests to meet needs for himself and for others. He prayed as a response to specific circumstances. He prayed before big decisions or beginning new activities. See Luke 31, verses 21 and 22. He prayed before baptism. See Luke 9, verse 18, 21 and 22. Before he began his public ministry, and in Luke 6, 12 and 13, before picking his disciples. We cannot do better than to follow Jesus' example in prayer. This is the way the BibleBard works. Brief recitations, closely focused, no distractions, no rabbit trails. Send the BibleBard any questions or remarks you care to offer to BibleBardUS@gmail.com. Glad to hear from you. Thanks in advance for following and sharing content from the BibleBard community. Thanks for listening. The BibleBard does not get information about Jesus from religion or some theology people have developed in the past. The Bible itself, in its plain literary expressions, in its text, is the source of all revealed knowledge about God. We're archaeologists trying to get to that source. Once you know what the Bible says, because you have read it or heard its clear teaching for yourself, you are no longer dependent on religious ideology for your information. Get what the Bible says.